thoughtful, calm conversation where we listen to each other and all sides are respected. Katie Neeves joins us to that end, trans ambassador and founder of Call to Be Trans. Katie, good to have you on the show tonight. Thank you very much indeed. Can I just ask your overriding thoughts and feelings tonight on a day of a pretty historic and landmark ruling from the Supreme Court?
Yeah, hi Ben. Thanks very much for coming on. I just correct you, it's cool to be trans, not all to be trans.
Oh, I'm sorry. I clearly can't read very well. Apologies,
not
Katie.
a problem
Cool to be trans.
I'd firstly like to thank you for having such a respectful way of presenting this, because I've heard several debates today which have been really, really hostile and full of hate. So thank you very much for doing that. It's been a devastating day today. I can't dress up in any other way, and I've been quite emotional about it, to be honest. And thankfully, I've got my friends, I've had loads of messages from friends, and I've got my family around me, and my lovely girlfriend as well. It's funny, Jenny was saying about attack on lesbians. My girlfriend is a proud lesbian, never dated a trans lesbian before. I am one of those things. I am a lesbian, but I'm also transgender. And, we're very happy, and, it's not a problem from that point of view. But this decision is just devastating, because while it hasn't changed the law massively, when you actually look at what the judge actually said, that he was very careful to say that, that it doesn't actually provide, give people any more chance to discriminate against trans people. Very careful to say that.
Yes.
What it does do is it emboldens trans deniers, and that debate has been picking up over the last 7 years.
What do you class, Katie? Just apologies to jump in. What do you class as a trans denier?
Somebody basically who says that basically who denies that trans people are who are
like our previous guest.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, in my day-to-day life, I'm accepted 100% as female, as a woman, in everything that I do, and I know I'm out and about a lot. I'd go to, like last night. We were out at my salsa dancing class, and all the people there, they just accept me 100%. I mean, I don't know. Is this actually being broadcast visually as well as audio? I know we can see each other on Zoom, but
we don't live stream, Katie. But there might be clips, so yes, people might.
Fair enough. Yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot of people hearing this. They will probably hear my deep voice, and then I'm sure there'll be some hateful comments about my voice and assume that I'm a man. But you can see me.
You've got long hair. Are you wearing lipstick? I think.
I am, yeah. And when I'm going, and the thing is, we live in a very lookist society, and when I go out and about, I'm very lucky in that I don't think anybody realises that I'm trans when they see me. When they hear my voice, they probably do. But when they see me, they don't. But I'm very lucky from that point of view. But the thing is,
Katie, I'll just ask you, because you say it's a devastating day, and I think a lot of trans people feel that way.
Yeah,
but then you also say it's not actually going to change a great deal. So what is it that why is it so devastating?
What it's going to do, it's going to ramp up the hate even more, and it's going to embolden the trans deniers because I get hate every day. Every day on social media, I get called a paedophile, a sex pest, a groomer, mentally ill, all these. But guess what? These were all the names that trans men were being called 50 years ago.
And that's what I'm saying about the tone of this, and you touched on it. I think you used the word hateful. The tone of this debate has, and I would say, Katie, on both sides, there are elements that just become completely and utterly toxic and blinded by hatred. I would say
totally. But if this is all about keeping trans women out of women's spaces, for instance, well. Look at me. Where do you think I should use? What loos do you think I should use?
Do you have sympathy for biological women who feel uncomfortable about somebody who does perhaps look more biologically male than you do, or the presence of people who look like men at domestic violence refuges and so on? Do you understand the concern?
But the thing is that the Equality Act 2010 already provides those limited exceptions for those things, and that is absolutely correct for those limited exceptions, and the judge emphasised that, and so that hasn't changed, and so that's that's absolutely right for that. However, what it doesn't allow for is blanket bans. So Jenny was incorrect when she said that a lot of these organisations are going to have to change their policies on all this. They won't, because if they do, they'll find themselves at the wrong end of the law, because they will then be discriminating as a blanket ban, which would be against the law.
But this case was brought, wasn't it, in relation to the Scottish Government assigning places on boards, for example, that had been earmarked for women to trans women as well. That was what the case was about. And the argument is, well, actually, trans women have benefited from male privilege for at least part of their life. They've benefited from the male puberty and so on. And therefore, they shouldn't take up spaces that are protected for biological women on boards.
But we, as a woman, I mean, there are trans women and there are cisgender, so non-trans women. Of course, there are differences, but we're all women. But
you're not biologically.
As a woman, well, hang on, I can come on to. As a woman, I get the same misogyny as cisgender women, but I also get an extra layer of hate because I'm trans, and so we actually get more. So and you say biologically, well, how far do you want to take that in terms of hormonally? That changes hormonally to as women, but also surgically as well. So where do you want, and how are they going to police it in these places?
So Katie, clearly you'd say your gender was female. Would you also say that biologically you were female in terms of sex?
Yes, I would. The thing is, there isn't actually. But
you've got male genes.
There isn't a legal definition of sex, of biological sex.
But then if your argument is that all trans women are biologically women, then why do you accept that there should be spaces that are reserved under the Equalities Act for people who were born women?
But I think it's just about knowing sort of where to step back, and I think that's fine just to step back.
But then you are saying, in saying that, are you not then accepting that there is something different?
I don't like the term biological sex because biology it affects lots of things.
Right. Okay. Let me phrase it a different way.
It affects your brain as well. You see, this is the thing.
But let me phrase it a different way. If you're accepting that there are some spaces that it is legitimate for trans women like yourself to be excluded from, then are you not accepting that there is some difference between trans women and people who are assigned as women at birth?
Yes, there are. Of course there are.
What is the difference?
Okay, well, it's a really complex area because obviously you've got intersex people who were not actually considered today when the judge said that sex is binary. Well, actually, it's not. So it was actually biologically incorrect what he said today. So I think that's the difference, is that all that needs to be taken into account, and I think. Yes, there should be those spaces for people who were assigned female at birth. That's fine in those small circumstances, as long as it's legitimate and proportionate. And that's the point. That is the whole point, and that is what the law says, and that's what it still says. The problem is that all this has been whipped up, and it just creates an awful lot more hate.
Who do you think's whipped it up? Just finally, Katie, because I mean, we're talking about the toxicity of this conversation.
Yeah.
Who do you? Jenny was saying it's because she feels people like her have been shut down. Who do you blame for the fact that it's become so, to use your word again, so hateful?
I think a lot of it has actually come from the States, actually, from far-right Christian evangelical groups from the States. They're funding a lot of the anti-trans hate groups that we've got in this country, and they're funding a lot of these court cases that are coming up and that we've had. And so I think that's what's stirring it all up, and sadly a lot of people in the media and also in Parliament as well. We're seeing an awful lot of it. And it's just it's hurtful and it's hateful, and there's no need for it. I didn't choose to be trans. I didn't want to be trans. I fought against it. I tried to be a man for 48 years. I tried to be that man that I thought society wanted me to be, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore. And my gender has always been female. It's just that it took me 48 years to admit it to myself and do something about it. And now I'm so much happier. It's all about being happy. Trans people are just ordinary people who want to be happy.
I understand. Katie, appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Neeves, for coming on, talking to us. Katie